Okay, so I just came out of Solo, a Star Wars story, and I thought when I drove on my way home when I drove how I was gonna structure this. I'm gonna do a more structured review, a little bit more in depth. Uh, a little bit later when I've gathered my thoughts more, written down something. These are just my initial thoughts, and I'm gonna have like a smaller non-spoiler thing. So for those who don't want to be spoiled, can listen just to the beginning, and most of the review is gonna be filled with spoilers, so to speak. So for those who just want to hear real quick what Star Wars or Solo a Star Wars story is, it's basically how should I say this? I would say it's boring, predictable. Um, what I mean, it's hard to put my finger on it, but it's basically just Han Solo that but there's nothing special around it. I mean, Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote this, knows the character and the plot of the entire movie is very predictable. I can say this without actually spoiling. I mean, you see it in the trailer. It's basically, if you've watched episode 4 or 5 or 6, especially 4 or 5, you basically know a lot of what's going on in the story, and there's not much. Many there aren't any twists or any sort. So, and I thought it was boring. It's better than The Last Jedi, but it's boring. That's the best way I can describe it for the non-spoiler. So here I'm gonna continue to the spoilers. So um basically the entire premise of this movie is from what George Lucas wrote for the character in episode or in the original trilogy, but especially episode 4 and 5. You have I predicted this when I watched the movie. You have Corellia in this movie. You have the planet, of course. You have the Empire Academy of where Han went. You have Chewie, meeting Chewie, the life that. You have the Castle Run, and him becoming a smuggler. I mean, they basically used the 10 lines that George or what are in the original trilogy and basically made a movie out of it. And Rogue One was better made than this movie. Uh, so Lawrence Kasdan helped George Lucas write Han Solo in the 70s and 80s with the original trilogy. So I'm just gonna say the good parts first because there aren't that many of them. So Alden Aaron Reich is actually pretty good as Han Solo. The issue is the dialogue in the story in the movie. Yeah, so it's actually not him. So I don't know all these rumors with him getting an acting coach or having trouble. It's basically I think it's the direction of the movie and the dialogue written for Alden Ehrenreich who plays Han Solo. Uh, and the relationship between Chewie should have been way more central in this movie, but it's not that central. It's basically the main plot that is the what takes most of the time of the movie, what that progresses the story. And well, you have the Darth Maul cameo at the end, um, which I'm gonna come back to of why I think that's kind of lame. But seeing him, that's kind of cool. You have Donald Glover, he was. I mean, he was fine, but there was one scene that kind of threw me off with Donald Glover playing Lando Calrissian. But all in all, I mean, he played the role very well. So, what to take of this movie? Han and Chewie are solid. That's probably the biggest anticipation people had to this movie. They played well, very well together, and you have the Darth Maul cameo, and you have one scene which you basically see in the trailer, where they do the Castro run, and that's one cool scene. But I feel there's, I just had this feeling the entire time I was watching the movie that there was things there was things missing, additional lines or minutes of scenes. It just was in the back of my mind because it felt like it was going very fast through the motions and kind of didn't tell the story in the best way it could. There are basically only three action scenes, uh, and the movie relates more to a Marvel movie than it is a Star Wars movie. At least to me, it felt like an Ant-Man movie. You had the heist elements, but the heist itself, it felt very like, I don't know how to describe it. It felt very straightforward. There were I thought those scenes were very chopped up, and it just happened so quick, and it's hard to describe. It felt off when the both of those scenes where they did the heists. It just felt a little bit choppy and very very fast, and not a lot of exposition, and yeah. So the first scene was very well set up because Han got with his new crew with Becker, and basically deserted the Empire because he was on the planet, and he didn't want to participate in the war, and had a mind of his own. The way he meets Chewie is kind of cool. He basically gets fed to him, and instead of getting eaten by Chewie, he reasons with him and escapes with him. But the life that isn't really like explained or touched upon on the story, so they just go together, and throughout the movie you have Kira, who is basically the love interest of Han Solo, which in the end basically betrays him because she's the one who is working for Maul. Um, and you have the villain, Dryden Voss, who's basically, I mean, anyone could have played that role. They wasted a very good actor in Paul Bettany in on that role. He he barely had any lines. Didn't have much to work with. And the character is very predictable with Beckett. I mean, you can see they are basically showing how Han Solo became Han Solo with Beckett, with only trusting yourself, not trusting anyone else, and being lonely, paying your debts, and not fleeing. But Kiro also kind of it's very obvious, like he has a good heart, under all the bravado and cockiness. And so the first heist is on the train, which is also shown in the trailer. And what was really weird to me is the so-called villain with the cool mask is basically just a 16-year-old girl who works with the rebellion, and that just felt weird. Uh, I don't know because the writing and the screenplay of this movie was just jumble. Because that didn't really make that much sense. They could have used a little bit of older character. I felt a little bit of SJW vibes a little bit because the slavery aspect was very heavy in this movie. You had where they did the second heist, where they basically stole the fuel, the special fuel for Dryden Voss. You had this entire planet that was mining, and they were basically just slaves. And you had this one droid, which I also felt was very SJWE. What was like anti-slavery droid throughout the movie, like peppered you with that this droid was anti-slavery. Freed all the droids on this planet and basically started a rebellion on this mining planet. And you also like that's probably the biggest SJW kind of political motive, but I mean, take it with a great what you will. It didn't really impact the story that much, but it during those scenes it was very heavily. The tone in those scenes were very heavy there. And you also had slaves that were Wookiees that Chewbacca freed, and you saw the choice of going that he would want to go with Han Solo, but he didn't. In that scene, they could have easily like had some subtitles, like basically Chewie says, "I owe him my life" or something like that, instead of just him. Yeah, so that felt a little bit weird. So I think they should have delved deeper with that, or at least had some extra lines there. But that goes basically for the whole movie, and the chemistry between Olin Ehrenreich and Emilia Clarke, I didn't really feel it was there. I mean, in as again, I felt it was the script and the direction more than the actors. Uh, she almost play I mean almost played a good part in the movie, but again it was so telegraphed that she was gonna basically betray Han Solo in the end, Akira. So it wasn't really that much to work with again, and I would probably give the problems either to Ron Howard, because he's credited as the director, and I mean there are big parts of the movie that are just, I mean, the supposed to move the plot forward, but after like the only scene that actually were fun to watch were those three action scenes, but they were still a little bit underwhelming. You had the dice from episode 8, had a big part to play in this movie. And you have, I mean, the only part where I actually saw the real Han Solo was at the end of the movie. I get that it's supposed to be a prequel or whatever, but if Disney is hell bent on basically saying, well, screw the past, we're gonna make something new, why are they constantly delving into the past and the original trilogy? I mean, I would also hear the defense of people who say that they should have moved forward all these characters by killing Han, killing Luke, and I don't know what they're gonna do with Leia. But they go back with Rogue One, and now they go back with Han Solo, and I'm almost 100% sure that they're gonna make a sequel to this, because it's basically set up that they're gonna go to Tatooine, and that um, that maybe Obi-Wan, maybe this leads into the Obi-Wan movie, because Olin Ehrenreich has signed a 3 movie deal, and it looks more to me like that this is gonna follow the Marvel structure of movies, where they're gonna have more movies outside the saga and then just build up to the main episodes. That's what it looks like to me, and probably the upcoming movie Obi-Wan is gonna have the real fight between Darth Maul and Obi-Wan, because we saw that in Randables how the fight ended, but I mean, it could have been cut down for all we know. So, and I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, it was cool. Kind of, they did it. The design of the Millennium Falcon with Lando owning it. Very, I think that was well done, showing the difference between Lando owning the Millennium Falcon and Han owning the Millennium Falcon. But I mean, there is so much that they could have done differently, because I felt it was very stiff, very very predictable, and just boring. And I don't know. I mean, it's better than The Last Jedi in my opinion. I think it's also better than The Force Awakens. But I mean, that's not saying much. Um, it's probably a bit more disappointing, because I was constantly expecting some twist or something unexpected to happen, but it was very very safe, and that's probably why they chose Ron Howard. And the script that everyone was saying, oh, this is the best script that they've ever heard. I heard Christian Harloff and people at Collider and other places hailing this as the best Star Wars script ever. These are the same people who have said, "Oh, The Last Jedi is the best movie ever." Like Jar Jar Abrams saying, "Oh, I wanted to direct this movie because it has the best script ever." And yeah, I don't know what else to say about this movie other than that. I mean, if you and yeah, before I actually forget it, I was at the premiere, and there were 4 people at the premiere watching this movie. That is very interesting. So the boycott solo is actually in full effect, even here in Europe. So people are not gonna watch this movie. I'll be very surprised if it makes that much money. It's kind of a shame, because I think the actors in this movie did the best they could with the script. But it's just unoriginal. It's paint by numbers. It's very predictable, pretty much boring, and the end, it's very anticlimactic. The end. I mean, it's the last 15 minutes is basically or 10 minutes is just basically a setup for another Han Solo or Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. I don't know. I don't know what the plan is, because it doesn't feel like Kathleen Kennedy knows what the hell she's doing. And with Episode 8 doing as bad as it has done, I mean, I can understand. So if you watched, as I said, watched episode 4, 5, and 6, you've basically seen and heard what the entire plot is of Star Wars. It's all a Star Wars story. They even tried to retcon. I think it's Lawrence Kasdan basically being a little bit angry with George Lucas doing the Han shot first thing, because that's basically the one of the last scenes of the movie is Han shooting Beckett first and killing him. And I mean, I find it. I don't know if it's disrespectful or just fan service for the pure diehards, for people who say Han shot first. I mean, uh, I mean, I don't know. That's basically what I have to say about this movie. You really don't have to watch this movie. If I would rate it on a 10 scale, I would probably give it like a 5, maybe 4. It's not bad. It's not good. It's just boring and has some cool parts. Um, but it's just there needs to be something done with the whoever is writing these movies and whoever is directing these movies. They have to do a better job, and I don't think Kathleen Kennedy is doing the right job right now. And if you, I'm gonna try to have my thoughts a little bit more gathered and go a little bit more in depth in the scenes. These are just my initial thoughts on the movie. Let me know what you think. If you've watched the movie, are you gonna watch the movie? Are you gonna watch it in the cinema, or just gonna ignore this movie? Just outright, just boycott it, or not care with this movie. So let me know. Thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye. There was something I wanted to add just in hindsight. I realized what I did mention is in the movie they actually gave the background of where Han got his last name, and it's basically just him being solo, being alone, because he gets through the checkpoint in the beginning when he flees Corellia, and this Empire officer basically just say, "What's your last name?" And he doesn't have one, and he just says solo, and that's his last name suddenly. There was no reason for that to actually be in there. And you also have how he got his blaster. It's basically just Beckett gave it to him before the first job, before the first heist. So I just wanted to add that just post edit, because so I know I covered most of it. But again, I'm gonna try and do another review so I can be more thorough. So thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye.